Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you tonight. Stocks rise across the world after core inflation in the US slows to a two-year low. The sensex up over 700 points. The nifty gains over 200. All sectoral indices end in the green. The US is likely to suspend the plans for the Indo-Pacific trade deal, which was aimed at countering China's economic influence in the region. Xi Jinping in the US for the first time in 6 years is set to meet President Biden as both nations hope to repair their relationship. A 95% surge in gold imports takes India's trade deficit in October to a record high of more than $31 billion. Overall imports rise 11%, hitting a 15-month high. Exports up 6%.
Baseless allegations will continue, mudslinging will continue, but we're going ahead and doing our job.
Allegations and counter-allegations fly thick and fast as a bitter takeover battle breaks out between the Burman family and the Religare management. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Mohit Burman rules out hiking the open offer price and terms allegations made by Religare directors as baseless and malicious. The Reserve Bank of India orders Bajaj Finance to stop loan disbursal via two of its lending products. RBI says the action is due to non-compliance to provisions of the digital lending guidelines introduced in September last year. Yuko Bank takes its immediate payment service facility offline, reports an internal technical glitch after transactions done by account holders of other banks came into account holders of the bank. Yuko Bank says that matter has been reported to law enforcement authorities. 40 construction workers remain trapped after an under-construction tunnel in Uttarakhand since it collapsed 3 days ago. The plan to drill through the debris has failed. Authorities are assessing the next course of action. Meanwhile, tunnel workers and locals protest alleged lack of effort in the rescue operations. Israel forces raid Gaza's biggest hospital, claim it is a precise and targeted operation against Hamas. Reports say that Israel has allowed fuel shipments inside Gaza for humanitarian purposes. A fatal bus accident in Jammu's Dora district kills at least 36 people. Rescue operations continue. Those with severe injuries are being flown to nearby hospitals. Prime Minister Modi announces 2 lakh rupees for the kin of those killed. Virat Kohli becomes the first cricketer to score 50 hundreds in one-day international, surpassing Sachin Tendulkar. Kohli also pips Tendulkar to become the highest run scorer in a single World Cup. And football legend David Beckham roots for India in the World Cup, says sports is a powerful tool for change. An exclusive interview coming up. Well, for those of you who are not glued to cricket, these are the big stories tonight. Let's start with the day's trading action. Global markets surging on the back of US inflation print, which has brought in cheer and relief. The core inflation in the US slowing to a 2-year low, and the Lal Street rising in line with global markets. So we saw the Nifty and the Sensex gain over 1%, 740 points on the Sensex. The Nifty Bank up by about 300 points. The small cap index also closing at a record high. But the big story this evening, China's President Xi Jinping has arrived in the US to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Jinping is set to meet US President Biden for the first time in over a year on the sidelines of the summit. Now, the two leaders are expected to discuss a host of issues, including the Israel-Hamas conflict, artificial intelligence, and fair trade. Separately, the United States is likely to suspend plans for the Indo-Pacific trade deal, which was aimed at countering China's economic influence in the region. Parikshit is standing by with more on the significance of this trade deal and what the likely implications will be for India. Parikshit, this has been something that India and the US have been very, very optimistic on. In fact, when we last spoke with the Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo when she was here in India, this was one of the milestones that she talked about, saying that she had never seen negotiations move at such a fast pace. What's going on?
Well, this was really important to the United States and Joe Biden. They had been urging India to come on board, join the trade pillar of the IMPS. They were hoping to make an announcement by the end of the year, but it seems that has run into a hurdle. This is because Democratic senators have been opposed to the trade deal under IMPS. They are saying the current format of the trade deal leaves US workers open to exploitation. It does not have enough safeguards for workers. There are issues with the environmental standards mentioned in this. And there were Democrats who had major concerns about the stand that this US administration was taking against certain tech companies and also on the issue of digital trade under IPEF negotiations. So keeping all of that in mind, it seems that the US has put the trade deal, the trade pillar of IPEF, on the back burner. Now, why is this important? IPEF countries, including India, Australia, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, they comprise nearly 40% of the global economy. This was supposed to be, in a way, a counter to the Belt and Road Initiative and a counter to China's increasing dominance in Southeast Asia. All of that seems to have been put on hold for now. The Financial Times is reporting that Catherine Tai, the USTR, has communicated this decision to all the allies partners under IPEF. We're awaiting an official word on this, but definitely this is a big blow to US commitment on IPEF and IPEF negotiations going forward.
Yes, this is a setback for sure. We will, of course, wait for an official confirmation. Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Now, 95% surge in gold imports, taking India's trade deficit in October to a record high of more than $31 billion. And that figure came in higher by 18% versus the same period last year. Overall, imports up 11%, hitting a 15-month high, while exports rose 6%. Lata's here to take us through the fine print. Lata, make sense of the trade data for us.
Well, the trade deficit quite clearly is worrisome. It's the highest ever monthly trade deficit of 31.46 billion. I'm only counting goods over here, not services. This trade deficit is up about 20% over last year and 62% over September. So let's be under no illusion as to the big, as to the volume of trade deficit that we have at this point in time. The trade deficit is $12 billion more than it was in September, and only $3 billion each can be accounted for by gold and oil. So this problem is beyond that. It's beyond just high oil or high gold imports. The imports are higher clearly due to a strong growth in India across the board. So several things like machinery and chemicals and ores are responsible for the higher imports. It would be okay if our exports also grew commensurate, but they are not. At $33 billion, they are $1 billion less than it was in September. So clearly, destination countries are not as strong as we are. We have always been compensated, at least in the last 3 years, by services exports. You know, all these GCCs and the software companies. But services exports at $28.7 billion in October is $1 billion less than it was in September. So slowdown is hitting the services exports, and that's why the rupee, as soon as the numbers got announced, saw a distinct fall. It was strengthening in the morning because of the weakness in the dollar index and the fall in US yields, but that stopped and the rupee weakened after these numbers came. We have to worry a little about these numbers. You know, if you add the services surplus, then you get a net deficit of $17 billion per month. We have used up $17 billion more. Of course, in July and August last year, we used up $20 billion. But those were times when crude was at $110. Now crude is at best $90 billion. In spite of it, if we are reporting such a large deficit, we should worry. If this is a one-off, fine. But if you're going to do, you know, a $30 billion trade deficit and a $17 billion overall deficit month after month at a time when FIIs are selling out of Indian equities, there is a near-term problem in terms of filling that deficit.
Okay, Lata, many thanks for joining us. Trade deficit at a record high. On to market-related news. Index provider MSCI has added 9 Indian stocks to its emerging market index in its November review. Now, the changes will come into effect from market close on the last day of the month. As per Nuvama Alternative India, we should see passive inflows of close to 1.5 billion post the MSCI rejig. Now, German energy giant Siemens is planning to purchase Siemens Energy's 18% stake in its Indian unit for over $2 billion. Post the transaction, Siemens Energy's stake in Siemens India will reduce to 6%. Siemens AG and Siemens Energy have plans to demerge their India energy business by 2025. The Suzlon Group has announced that its S144 series of wind turbines has been listed in the reviewed list of models and manufacturers. The renewable energy solutions provider has already installed the first prototype of this series in Gujarat. The product is currently in the process of serial manufacturing and commercialization. Sahara Group patriarch Subrata Roy died on Tuesday after his health deteriorated, leading to a cardiac arrest. The 75-year-old founder of a huge empire was battling prolonged illness. His health started to deteriorate after he was sent to Tihar jail in 2014 in the Ponzi scheme case, a massive unravelling of Subrata Roy. The Reserve Bank of India has directed Bajaj Finance to stop the sanction and disbursal of loans under two of its lending products with immediate effect. Ritu joins us now to explain why. Ritu, take us through the RBI action and what the future possibly could mean.
You know, this is the first such instance of the regulator clamping down on a lender for non-adherence to the recently issued digital lending guidelines, which came out in September last year. RBI has now directed Bajaj Finance to stop the sanction and disbursal of loans under two of its digital lending products with immediate effect for non-adherence with these guidelines. These two products are Bajaj Finance Ecom and Insta EMI Card. Now, RBI says that Bajaj Finance specifically did not adhere to digital lending guideline rules relating to issuance of key fact statements to borrowers under these two products. The regulator also noted deficiencies in the key fact statement issued in respect of other digital loans that have been sanctioned by Bajaj Finance. Now, quickly, what is key fact statement? It essentially captures, all the information in a standard format regarding fees, charges, recovery mechanism, details of grievance redressal officers, essentially everything to do with the loan. Now, as things stand, Bajaj Finance cannot sanction or disburse loans under these two categories, and RBI is going to review these supervisory restrictions after Bajaj rectifies these deficiencies to RBI's satisfaction. A quick look at the numbers. Bajaj Finance's EMI card franchise stood at 41.9 million cards as of the end of September, and the company essentially finances the existing EMI card customers for the purchases they make through e-commerce platforms. So, for instance, in FY23 alone, it financed more than 2.82 million transactions. So, the amount of loans being financed through this product alone could be substantial. And the longer the ban stays on, the higher, naturally, is going to be the impact. But the deficiency that RBI has noted is only related to disclosure in the key fact statement. And some analysts we spoke to believe that it is an issue that can be resolved very quickly.
Okay, we will wait to hear from Bajaj Finance on the impact, the implications, as well as the resolution process. But Ritu, hang in there. I need to get your view on another story. Yuko Bank has issued a statement about a technical glitch. The bank has taken its IMPS channel offline after it found that certain account holders of Yuko Bank received erroneous credits via IMPS. Ritu, what exactly is going on here?
Well, a very bizarre incident this is, where Yuko Bank has reported a technical glitch in some IMPS transactions, because of which transactions done by account holders of other banks came into the account of Yuko Bank customers without any actual receipt of money from these other banks. Yuko Bank subsequently clarified that there was no issue with the IMPS platform per se, and the error occurred because of an internal technical issue without really elaborating on what this issue was. Now, these transactions, according to the bank, took place last week between the 10th and 13th of November, and as a precautionary measure, Yuko Bank said that it has made the IMPS channel offline and is working closely with stakeholders to resolve the issue and restore the IMPS services at the earliest. The matter has also been reported to law enforcement agencies for necessary action. Now, Yuko Bank said that all other critical systems of the bank remain operational, and the financial impact of this, if any, is yet to be ascertained. It did not offer any details on how many such erroneous transactions took place or which other bank customers had their money transferred to Yuko Bank account holders. All of these details are still awaited.
All right, Ritu. Certainly an odd story there. Many, many thanks for joining us. The big newsmaker this evening: allegations and counter-allegations fly thick and fast as a bitter battle has broken out between the Burman family and Relige's management. This after Relige's directors accused the Burman family of corruption. The family has hit back. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Mohit Burman has denied all the allegations, calling them baseless and malicious. Now, on acquiring a stake in Relige, Burman clarified and said that they are focused on their open offer and are not willing to increase the price at this point. He also added that if any other suitor is willing to make a higher offer for Relige, the Burmans may consider selling out. Mohit Burman also remains upbeat about getting all the regulatory approvals soon. He expects the competition watchdog's green light in a few weeks. Take a look.
We're focusing on our open offer. We believe that everything is above board, and sooner than later all the regulators will give us the nod to proceed and close the acquisition.
Let's just talk about that open offer price. How significant do you think that is in this entire scheme of things, or you think it's gone beyond that? It's not about the price anymore. I mean, if tomorrow you were to raise the price, do you think things can be brought back on track?
No, as I said, I always believe an amicable solution can be worked out, and I don't believe it's the price, because we're well above the SEBI price formula. So I don't think it's well with the price. If there's someone else who's willing to give a higher price, then let them also make let them come in the fray. I don't mind. It's not something which we believe we've offered a fair price for the business, and let the shareholders decide.
Are you willing to go up?
Well, at this point of time, no, I'm not. At that time, she accepted she accepted our offer and said that she will help us in getting all the permissions, as well as helping us navigate getting into the business and making us understand the business. As soon as we voted her back in, now she's using all that against us.
But to be clear, did you want her to continue, or did you want, when the open offer bit happened, did you want her to continue as the helm of affairs, or
No,
what was the offer given to her? What was the discussion?
No, as far as we're concerned, listen, we don't want to upset the management as well as the board. We are professional. All our businesses are run professionally. Family members only take seats on the board. And even in this case, all our discussions were centered around the fact that at the most, we may supplement the board with some more people, who can add value to the business, and as well as provide capital to each of the businesses to take it to the next level. There was no question about us replacing anyone.
You can catch that entire conversation at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV18. Now, 40 workers remain trapped after an under-construction tunnel on a national highway collapsed in Uttarakhand on Sunday. The plan to drill through the debris has failed so far. Authorities are assessing the next course of action. Archana Solanki standing by with more. Archana, it's been more than 72 hours. This is a race against time. A new machine has been brought in. Take us through where things currently stand.
Yeah, Shireen, more than 3 days have passed and 40 labourers remain trapped in the Silkyara tunnel in Uttarakhand. Now, officials confirm that they're all safe, but the rescue operation, which was expected to conclude today, has been delayed. Now, since 3 a.m. this morning, the rescue operation has been on hold as a more powerful drilling machine is being brought in from Delhi. The Indian Air Force is helping in bringing it to the spot. Now, these parts, the machine is arriving in parts and will be assembled as soon as all parts are brought in and assembled. Officials say that till tomorrow evening or night, everybody will be rescued safely from the tunnel. This is the new timeline that they have set. For our viewers, let me explain what will the new machine do. The new machine will assist the NDRF, SDRF and BRO teams in creating mini tunnels or create escape passages to bring the labourers out. For now, food, oxygen and water are being provided through a water pipe, which is also the only means of communication with the trapped labourers. Now, early this morning, some workers and the family members of the trapped labourers staged protests questioning the delay in rescuing them. It all began last Sunday when a portion of the tunnel, which is part of the Char Dham project, collapsed, trapping all labourers inside. Now, this incident has once again put the spotlight around the concerns surrounding the Char Dham project. Environmental experts have consistently raised alarms about the project's viability because it falls in the ecologically sensitive region of Uttarakhand, which is known for frequent landslides and floods. The project involves extensive tree and mountain cutting to widen the roads. Some experts have called it a freeway to disaster. The Char Dham project is an ambitious highway initiative led by the Modi government that aims to enhance connectivity to 4 pilgrim sites, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Yamunotri and Gangotri in Uttarakhand. The estimated cost of this project is 12,000 crore rupees. Back to you.
Archana, many thanks for joining us. Well, from one terrible tragedy to another, at least 36 people have been killed in a bus accident in Jammu's Dora district. Rescue operations continue. Those with severe injuries are being flown to nearby hospitals. Prime Minister Modi has announced an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees for the kin of those killed. Loudspeakers go silent in Madhya Pradesh as a high decibel campaign draws to a close. All 230 assembly seats will go to the polls this Friday in what is likely to be a two-way contest between the BJP and the Congress. From politics to cricket, Virat Kohli smashed a few records on his way to a record-breaking century. During the India-New Zealand semi-final, he's become the first cricketer to score 50 hundreds in one-day internationals, going past his idol Sachin Tendulkar. He's also become the top scorer in a single World Cup by beating Tendulkar's 2003 record. Tendulkar was among the first to congratulate Kohli on his innings. He said, and I quote, "The first time I met you in the Indian dressing room, you were pranked by other teammates into touching my feet. I couldn't stop laughing that day, but soon you touched my heart with your passion and skill." I'm so happy that the young boy has grown into a Virat player. And it's not just Kohli. The high-voltage match has helped Disney Hotstar break streaming records, crossing 5 crore viewers. The milestone comes at a time when Disney Hotstar, which offers free streaming, has been consistently losing subscribers in India. Well, from one legend to another, football legend David Beckham among those who saw Kohli smash records at Wankhede Stadium. Beckham is in India in his capacity as the UNICEF ambassador. He sat down for an exclusive interview with Anusuya Kumar ahead of the semi-final. With England knocked out, Beckham is rooting for, guess who? India. He's also spoken about driving change among the youth through sport. Take a look.
Cricket fans are in for a double treat because you're going to be watching the semi-final, the India versus New Zealand match. That's how you're spending your day in Mumbai. Is this the first time that you're watching a Cricket World Cup match?
It's the first time I've seen a Cricket World Cup match live. Obviously, I've followed cricket over the years. You know, obviously being in Manchester and having a roommate like Gary Neville. Gary Neville was a huge cricketer, and actually him and his brother could have gone on to be professional. But they chose football instead. So I always used to watch cricket with Gary because he was my roommate. But, you know, obviously being in Mumbai for this game today, for me, you can already feel the energy. You can feel the excitement. I think the energy and the excitement is going to be totally different to be in, you know, a cricket match in a different place. Yeah. I'm very excited about that.
All right, I'm getting to the last round of rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
I'm just going to fire some questions that you just think of the first thing that comes to your head in that case. One footballer who's caught your eye recently?
Recently, Jude Bellingham.
India, New Zealand, South Africa or Australia? Who are you rooting for in this Cricket World Cup?
Well, obviously, I'm going to have to say India.
That's a safe answer that you're going with right now. Beekeeper or an artist? What is an alternate profession for you?
Beekeeper.
What is the next tattoo that you're going to be getting?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I used to get my inspiration from my travels, so maybe I'll get one from this trip.
Out of Brooklyn, Romeo, Cruz or Harper 7, which of your kids can really bend it like Beckham?
Actually, they're all pretty good at playing football and playing sports, but Romeo is the only one at the moment that is part of a team. My son, Brooklyn, is obviously, he likes photography or cooking. My daughter is obviously the boss. And my other son, Cruz, he loves music. So we'll see.
That is David Beckham. Free trade agreement talks between India and the UK might take a little longer than anticipated. We'll tell you why when we return. And you can catch all of CNBC TV18's news and updates on WhatsApp, Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Well, on to global stories now. In an escalation of its offensive in Gaza, Israeli troops entered the Al-Shifa hospital early today, conducting what they call, and I quote, a precise and targeted operation against Hamas militants in a specified area. This was part of the medical complex. Israel claims that it has information indicating the terrorist activity by Hamas inside the Al-Shifa hospital. Both Hamas and Gaza health authorities have denied claims that the group is operating from the hospital. The military operation is likely to cause more casualties in the hospital, where several patients and civilians are trapped with no food and electricity. UN trucks carrying fuel expected to enter Gaza for the first time since the war began. The UN agency has warned that its aid operation would cease soon if fuel was not allowed into the enclave. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has called the Gaza conflict a worrying manifestation of geopolitical challenges for the proposed India, Middle East and Europe economic corridor. At the G20 summit in September, global leaders had announced a deal to link rail and ports in the Middle East and South Asia. It was aimed at countering China's Belt and Road project. Here's the Finance Minister on the geopolitical challenges ahead.
IMEC will be a win-win situation for all states involved, as it enhances transportation efficiency, reduces logistic costs, increases economic unity, generates employment, and lowers greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to a cleaner, safer, better world. However, it is not without its geopolitical challenges, and the ongoing conflict in Israel and Gaza is a worrying manifestation of these.
Well, that's the Finance Minister. Free trade agreement talks between India and the UK might take a little while longer. Government sources say that tough negotiations are on between both sides as the UK government is looking to seek lower import duties on electric vehicles. Abhimanyu joins us now with the latest. Abhimanyu, where do things currently stand on the proposed India-UK FTA?
The FTA talks between India and the United Kingdom are likely to take longer than usual to conclude due to tougher negotiations from both the sides, even as the United Kingdom is seeking tariff concessions on EVs. UK is slated to phase out IC engine vehicles by 2035, and as its production shifts to EVs, it's looking for export markets beyond the European Union. What government sources have indicated is that the United Kingdom is seeking lower import duties for its EVs, and negotiations are continuing even on other issues, including rules of origin, alcohol tariffs and work visas. The Commerce Ministry has indicated that the ministry is working on timelines and not deadlines for the FTA, and several issues of complex nature which have significant implications for both the countries are being threshed out threadbare. So it remains to be seen how early the negotiations are going to be concluded, and some degree of consensus is going to be reached on the pending issues.
Abhimanyu, many thanks. Now, the White House's former COVID response coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha, says the involvement of private equity in healthcare could indicate that the system is not functioning optimally. Speaking to me earlier today, Jha said that PE firms have historically left healthcare systems with a lot of debt. He also added that the global health community is not talking about climate change and not taking action seriously enough.
We've got to get people insured and covered. That's not enough. And then when you see private equity, your second part of your question, to me, that is a symptom. It says you have a health system that is not functioning in a way that is really optimal, and that private equity can go in. Now, sometimes we have seen examples of private equity firms go in and actually clean up a mess, make a health system better. That happens. Unfortunately, those are rare. A lot of times what we have seen is private equity firms go in, really take all the value out of that health system, leave it with large amounts of debt, and leave patients really much worse off in those communities. Climate change probably represents the single biggest health threat facing humanity in the years and decades to come. It will change every aspect of health. I don't think that the global health community, and I don't think the global community is taking climate change seriously enough as a health threat. Of course, we're talking about climate change in terms of temperatures and sea levels and all of those. They are important. For me, climate change is going to be seen and felt by most people through health. That's why I often say health is the human face of climate change.
Dr. Ashish Jha, you can catch the entire show at 10 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18's Global Dialogue. And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.